Well, Fuentes benefited us to some degree by being platformed because he tells us openly that Hitler and Stalin are cool. So, okay, I automatically know, and lots of normies know, that if you think Hitler and Stalin are cool, you are not. And so that much is good. But yeah, Tucker gave him nothing but softballs. I'm just shocked by what I'm hearing. There's all this talk of, funding from Qatar and so forth. I don't know about that, but here's what I do know. Tucker the other day was talking about how the genocide in Nigeria against Christians isn't a genocide and it isn't really Islamic. It's just tribal, don't you know? And I'm just like, okay, so it's not just anti-Semitism, it's pro-Islam, wherever it happens to be doing something evil. And where on earth did Tucker Carlson go awry to such a degree? It's just mind-boggling. But we see this in a lot of places on our side all of a sudden. Some of it is just pure isolationism, and they're upset that Israel gets foreign aid. I don't think they really understand how that is evolving over time and how much of that is joint development of military assets and technologies that we benefit from. It doesn't really matter. I get the pushback against foreign aid. That's fine. But when you cross over into effectively supporting Hamas, which is a lot of what this is, you've clearly crossed a rather staggering line. And the idea that Israel was committing a genocide in Gaza is utterly belied by what we found out since we have people in Gaza. It's just absurd. First of all, you have a significant obesity problem in Gaza. But second, Donald Trump pointed out that the ratio of civilian to military deaths in the Gaza conflict is the lowest in the history of urban warfare. Nobody has ever been as careful not to impose collateral damage as the Israelis, while Hamas was actively using hospitals and schools as military sites in contravention of the Geneva Convention, thus making those sites legitimate military targets under international law. So all of this is nonsense at best. Some of it is truly ignorance because people are hearing all this propaganda, but the people behind it are clearly seeking to demonize not just Israel, but Jews. And there's a reason to it that we must not neglect. If Israel doesn't own that land for the last 2,500 years, if that isn't legitimately a nation after 80 years, then neither is America, because we too, came here from somewhere else. And that's the real aim. It's ultimately about delegitimizing America.
Well, okay, there's a lot there. So first of all, I want to give you an opportunity to reprise what you just said. You hear these reports of quote unquote genocide, ethnic cleansing. I'm always baffled, most of all, Rod, by where do people get this information from, and is there any truth to it? Because I would certainly believe that governments are capable of doing bad things. I mean, under George Bush, we had the Abu Ghraib scandal. We had a number of things that I was ashamed as an American, because I expect my government to behave in a way that is 1,000% honorable to our enemies, to everyone, that we hold to certain standards. And I think that it's legitimate. We ought to criticize our own government and other governments if they're out of line. That's clearly on the table. But somehow folks have magnified whatever it is that Israel was doing in such a way that it seemed impossible for me to really get clarity on what these voices were saying. Or is this what I suspect? It's just, Palestinian propaganda. It's leftist propaganda against Israel, against the United States. That there's no truth there. That's what is unclear to me.
Well, this is why you have something that is increasingly being called a red-green alliance. The commonality between the communists and the Islamists is their hate for America. And as I just said, delegitimizing Israel is a backdoor path to delegitimizing America. That's what they're really after. And not just America, but the idea of nation states, the idea that we could rule ourselves and not be ruled by some elite. And all of that is wrapped up in the American idea and America's overwhelmingly powerful military, which is able to maintain its nationhood and not be subsumed into some international organization. And so, all of these things are packed up together. But as to the genocide question, let's just ask the obvious. If the Israelis are some international cabal that's in control of everyone, in control of Donald Trump, in control of the Bolsheviks, in control of Hitler somehow, all these insane things that we're hearing out of the Nick Fuentes crowd, if they're that powerful, then who could have stopped them from just carpet bombing Gaza? Who could have stopped them from napalming every square inch of the West Bank? What is stopping them from killing a couple million Palestinians and being done with it? And of course, this is absurd. They haven't done that. They haven't done anything remotely like that. They haven't even killed many civilians by the standards of urban warfare historically, even that urban warfare which we have conducted in places like Fallujah. Urban warfare is just ugly. It just is what it is. Did Israel attack Gaza? No, Gaza attacked Israel. And you can talk about, it's an occupation. The irony of that, of course, is that Israel completely withdrew from Gaza in 2006. It was the not at all occupied part of the Palestinian territories. And it's got natural gas assets offshore. It's got the opportunity to be a city-state that's as wealthy as a Singapore or a Dubai or a Monaco. It chooses not to be. It had really good city water infrastructure, for instance. You know what they did with it? Hamas dug up the pipes and turned them into missiles to fire into Jewish schools. That's what they did for the last 20 years. And that's why there had to be a war. When they started raping and killing teenage concert goers, what else was Israel going to do except defend themselves?